birth, a marriage, and a death. At a moment such as this, you are brought to the reality of life. At the border between life and death, we begin to think about what is truly meaningful, what is lasting, what brings, in this case, real blessing to our lives. And that's a powerful moment. It's a terrible moment sometimes. It's a powerful moment. So here as we begin our Levaya, our service of memory for your father, your father-in-law, your husband, your friend, we pause to acknowledge that standing at this moment, we look back and we look forward, we look in and we look out. And we see what all this meant for us. So the blessing acknowledges our reality. Please recite after me. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, Dayan ha'emet. And in English that means we bless you, we acknowledge you, we praise you, dear God. For you are the one who adjudicates our reality, who presents us with what we deal with in the real world and in real time. And then we say a verse from the book of Job. Adonai natan v'Adonai lakach yehi shem Adonai mevorach, which literally means the eternal gives, the eternal takes. We bless the eternal one. But it means something deeper. It means that hopefully we can find the divine at the beginning of things. We can find the divine at the end of things. But we don't praise God for beginnings and endings. Today we're praising God for the 73 years that all of you were blessed with Lloyd in this world, with his smile, with his talking, with more of his talking, with all the things that made him up. Those words that we use in Yiddish, like shticklock and mishigas, and all those wonderful things that we carry and we remember. Now we need a place to put those memories. So we have to put that in our heart. I cannot perform cardiac surgery on you, so we have to open your heart symbolically, and that's through the tearing of the ribbon. So we recited the blessing, and now we open your heart for Lord's Spirit to come in, so that you'll carry it wherever, and hopefully someday, way in the future, there'll be people opening their hearts for you, and your spirit, and your dad's spirit, and everyone else who brought blessings in your life will pass into them. And thus we have a touch of immortality even in this world. So, can you help me do some ribbon tearing?
Ladies and gentlemen, at this time, we would kindly ask if everyone would please turn off or silence all electronic devices. Thank you.
You know, there's a spiritual message in turning off our electronic communication devices at a moment like this. I don't know about you, but I know I spend innumerable hours talking, texting, connecting to people all over the world, and it's a blessing. I could be here and WhatsApp a friend in LA. You know that because I'm sure you and your dad and your family have done that innumerable times. Right, Melissa? Yeah. But today, we have to learn to listen in a different way.
these connections no longer work. These connections have to be turned on. So part of the Jewish funeral practice is to start to discover new ways of connecting with someone we loved and who's no longer here in the physical world. Through memory, through understanding, through making their story our own, through discovering the ways they imprinted themselves on us. You mentioned, Michael, that your dad was a good talker and a good salesman, and you got a bit of that? A little bit. That's one of the things that, when that's happening, to be aware of that, to listen to the stories that are told by those close and dear to them, and make Lloyd's life, Lloyd's Torah, part of your own. Well, my name is Louis Aaron, and I was the rabbi at the Jewish Geriatric Home when I first met Lloyd and his family. Melissa and Michael and David and Rhoda, you were all younger then. I was younger then. And your grandmother, your mother-in-law, Peggy, became a resident. And shortly after she became a resident, a really friendly young man with the biggest mustache came in to care for his mother and became friends with everyone there. Immediately, there was that connection. There was a charisma. But it wasn't only a charisma that was projected, he also took in. He found the best in people. And I thought I just met my best friend. And so did the other 100+ residents and staff. And I got to see his children at a young time, when they were younger. I think they brought you and Michael as a bar mitzvah project or a Hebrew school project or something, and you read me some of your reactions there. But there was just this real special energy that all you know, because you're here and knew Lloyd far better than I did. And I saw it when he was with the South Jersey Men's Club. He was the type of person who could just listen and hear and understand. And I feel blessed, A, that I got to know him, and B, that you asked me to be here today. So we are going to be reciting some prayers, learning some Torah, that is, some material from the Jewish tradition, hearing about Lloyd from Melissa and David and Michael. You don't have to take notes, but please listen carefully. Some more prayers. And then we'll be leaving for the interment. And after that, this afternoon, I guess it's around 4:30, Rhoda's going to be opening up her house, and please drop by and continue the conversation, continue learning, continue hearing. And that will also happen on Monday and Tuesday, if I'm correct. From 3 to 8 was the time you suggested. So please feel free and come and share. It's important. And when you visit, you know the rules. You're allowed to have something to eat. But more importantly, it's to listen and to be there. The gift that we can give our friends who have lost someone is just the gift of presence. And that is so powerful. So I want to thank everyone here also for fulfilling that mitzvah of just being present to support friends and loved ones at such a hard time. So, from Pirkei Avot we learn, when a person dies, neither silver, nor gold, nor precious stones, nor pearls accompany him. Only Torah, that is wisdom, and good deeds. For it is said in Mishle in Proverbs, when you walk, it, wisdom, shall lead you. When you lie down, it, wisdom, will watch over you. And when you awake, it, wisdom, will speak with you. When you walk, it shall lead you in this world. When you lie down, it shall watch over you in the grave. And when you awake, it shall speak with you in the world to come. In some future sense, our wisdom always abides with us and those whom we touch. B'kol davar yesh lefachot sheminit shel mavet. So writes the modern Hebrew poet Leah Goldberg. In everything, there is at least 1/8 of death. What it weighs isn't much. We carry it with a hidden tranquil grace wherever we go. Upon lovely awakenings, on excursions and trips, in love talk. We carry it without awareness, forgotten along the far horizons of our being. It's always with us, and it's never heavy. I think she's telling us that we need to cherish every moment, wherever we are, with our love, with our experiences, even when we wake up, that there's something precious about that moment. For we know we carry something special. That is the time we have. So what happens? Another Israeli poet, a woman named Zelda, wrote about Mount Carmel. That is up in the northern part of Israel. Those of you who have been to Israel maybe have seen it. The city of Haifa is there. It's beautiful. If you don't remember, have you haven't been there, think about San Francisco, another city by the bay. So she said, "Ka'asher amot la'avor lamahut acheret yifred ha'karmel ha'in nireh shehu kolo shali." She wrote, when I die to become something else, the invisible Mount Carmel, which is all mine, which is all joy, all the something, which is joy, whose needles and cones, flowers and clouds are etched into my very being, will separate from the Mount Carmel that all can see, with its avenue of pine trees winding down to the sea. Is the pleasure of the red sunset found in that which dies in me? And the delight of the sweet spices, or the moment when the water bursts into spray, or the instant of return to the profound gaze of Jerusalem's sky, to the one above all, can all this be from the part that dies in me? One of the teachings that I found most helpful from my time at the Jewish Geriatric Home and then through into Lionsgate was this, a story, a Maisa. It's about the good heart and what makes a good person. And when I was thinking about Lloyd, I thought this might be something that at least expresses my understanding of what he might have been, what he was about. So once, Rabban Yochanan ben Zakkai instructed his 5 disciples to go out into the world to discover what is the best quality a person can possess. And after traveling throughout the world, they returned to their teacher with their answers. The first disciple, Rabbi Eliezer, said, I have traveled from town to town and from city to city, and in all my travels I have found that the best people have an ayin tov. They have a good eye. They look favorably upon other people and on all things. They express an attitude of acceptance and benevolence towards others. The second disciple, Rabbi Yehoshua, said, "In the course of my travels, I found it's not good to be alone. People need other people, and it is important to have good friends and companions. Therefore, I believe the best quality after which we should strive is to be a chaver tov, to be a good friend to all." The third disciple, Rabbi Yossi, said, "I didn't need to travel far to learn the most important thing that we can be is to be a shochen tov, a good neighbor. We need to live in peace with our neighbors and help them in their time of need, generously share our blessings with them, and together build a feeling of shalom, of peace, in the towns and in the communities in which we live our lives." The fourth disciple, Rabbi Shimon, said, "In my journeys, I discovered the best people are those who are haro'eh et hanolad, those who think about the future, those who consider consequences. They look before they leap. They make considered judgments, and one can trust their choices because they have thought about the ultimate results of their decisions." Finally, the last disciple, Rabbi Elazar, spoke, and he said, "I journeyed into my soul, and I discovered that the best quality any person can have is that of a lev tov, a good heart." But before he could finish speaking, Rabbi Yochanan interrupted and declared, "Of all these answers, I prefer the words of Rabbi Elazar, because having a lev tov, a good heart, means having all these qualities in one's soul." And I think Lloyd was a man who had a lev tov. Well, having a lev tov and all these qualities doesn't mean you're perfect. It means that you're a mensch. And being a full human being, a mensch, means we come as people. And we change over time. And we grow. And sometimes we diminish. But often we keep a core, even in the hardest times. And I think from what, Rhoda, you told me, there was that core that remained in Lloyd even when things got tough. When you talked about how he interacted with people in the town center and how he interacted in people on those specialty cruises, that there was that core. There was always that lev tov. Well, one of the things about Lloyd that struck me, and again, I'm a rabbi, so this strikes me, was that he loved being Jewish. That was really a big thing. That if he found another MOT member of the tribe, it was like finding gold. It was an immediate connection. So, I know that he was a member of a number of synagogues, of the South Jersey Men's Club, and it was just, he had that sort of Yiddish neshama. So there are a number of passages that talk about what it means to be a Jew. But I'm going to read a short one, and this is from a colleague and friend of mine who passed away many, many years ago, Eli Pitchik, who was a rabbi up in North Jersey, refugee, actually, from Nazi Germany. But he said to be a Jew. To be a Jew is to imbue life's every turn with moral concern. To be a Jew is to review society's way, lest it go astray. To be a Jew is to construe the universe whole with a cosmic goal, yea, a divine soul. That's to be aware. It's to work for a better world, and to understand that there's some meaning and purpose in everything. So I'd like to ask Lloyd's children to come up. I think your order that I have is Melissa, David, and Michael, but you can change it. It's only written on paper, not on stone.
So we're all going to use our imagination today and pretend I'm saying this live.
My man. That's what my dad always said when he greeted me with a big hug or a handshake. I lost my best friend this week, who just happened to be my father. My dad had a great presence in the room and could talk to anybody. His humor always shined through. I loved and I admired his humor, mainly because it made me laugh a lot. The silly faces, the funny words, the countless goofy nicknames, they all rubbed off on me. Humor has shaped who I've become and is something I deeply value. He had this way of making you laugh with such ease. I still hear his hilarious, contagious laugh and will always remember it. Lloyd Kellner also loved music. He went to Woodstock and was into everything from classic rock to Motown, and he passed the love of music down to his children as well. When the music started, he couldn't help himself but to bust a move and make some funny dance moves to make you smile. Growing up, my father and mother got me into sports at a very young age. My dad coached many of my teams, but my favorite was playing sports with him. We loved having a baseball or football catch in the yard. Ping pong was also a favorite. He taught me so many great serves that still no one can defend. He was really good at tennis, and we loved playing tennis together as well. During middle school and high school, I played free safety and wide receiver for my football team. I always wanted to get better, so to practice, Dad always was down to throw passes to me playing my quarterback. I asked for Hail Marys, diving balls, sideline balls. He was always up for it and never complained. Those were some of my favorite moments. Just the two of us, hanging out, feeling like nothing else mattered in the world. And that obviously led to me getting many interceptions playing free safety throughout high school. But it didn't stop in my yard. We loved our Philadelphia Eagles. My family had season tickets during the Veterans Stadium days, lower level, at the tunnel. If you know, you know. My dad would alternate taking my brother, sister, and me. Getting there early for the tailgates, walking around, and then experiencing the thrill inside of the stadium was some of my favorite times growing up and still is to this very day. We also loved going to Phillies and 76ers games as a family, as well as an occasional boxing match at the famous Blue Horizon Boxing Arena with my dad and my brother. However, no one in this world have I watched more Birds games with than my dad. Even when I moved to Philly after college, he drove to my apartment so many Sundays to watch Eagles games with me. He would always ask what time to show up, and I'd always say the same thing. Close to kickoff, Dad, like 12:30. But of course, most of the time he'd show up at 10, just too excited to wait. One time he showed up at 8:30 and I was kind of pissed off. When I got really sick with a flesh-eating disease and spent 16 days in Cooper Hospital, my dad showed up every day. I could always count on him to have my back and make me laugh, no matter the circumstances, good or bad. As the years passed, things started to shift for him. One Sunday, my dad was coming over for the Eagles game as usual. It was close to kickoff, and I got a call. He said he had gotten lost on his way to my house. I asked, What do you mean you're lost? You've been here 100 times. He said, I know. I don't know why I can't remember. Can you help me? I said yes, and I've been helping him in any way since, just like he always did for me. However, my mother led that effort, caring for him 24/7. I will always take pride in the strength and resilience my mom provided to my father in the darkest of times. My father always knew she was there for him, and he depended on her at all times. But don't get me wrong. My dad was always a fighter. He conquered 2 Achilles tears, a torn rotator cuff, 2 heart attacks, peripheral artery disease, prostate cancer, lung cancer, spinal stenosis, and 3 pain-in-the-ass kids. But sadly, Alzheimer's ended up being his kryptonite. My dad's life was cut short, but he lived a long life full of love and joy with the people he loved and cherished, including all of you here today. I say goodbye to Lloyd Alexander Kellner, my father, my best friend, who arrives at heavenly gates with not 1, but 2 Eagles Super Bowl rings, when we used to talk about if he would ever get to see one during his lifetime. I will carry you with me through your memory and in the way I live my life every day. I love you, Dad. And one last time, go Birds!
Well, in some way, Lloyd lived out the biblical verse that I will carry you on eagle's wings. So, Melissa, you're next.
It's very impressive, David. In Mount Airy, Philadelphia, born and raised, on the baseball field is where he spent most of his days. My dad described his childhood growing up in the city of brotherly love as absolutely idyllic. He was an only child, adored by his parents, Peggy and Sam. He participated in almost every sport imaginable and was obsessed with the idea of being a team player. These noble values of sportsmanship became guiding principles in his life and a cornerstone of his parenting style. He taught my brothers and me that our siblings were our forever teammates and that it was our lifelong job to show up for, support, and celebrate each other. Through Lloyd's 35-year career with Napa Filters, his coworkers told us he was an amazing team player who could light up a room with his infectious energy and laughter. His big Cheshire grin immediately put people at ease, and he had a gift for connecting with people from all walks of life. As an accomplished district sales manager, his entire job revolved around schmoozing, and he was so damn good at it that his company sent my parents on almost a dozen tropical vacations for top sales executives throughout my childhood. Lloyd thrived in sales, not only because he genuinely loved the automotive parts industry, but because he had a God-given gift for gab. When you couple his electric energy with the truly unforgettable name Lloyd, it is easy to see why he left an impression everywhere he went. Naturally, it was paramount for him to teach all 3 of his children the importance of a strong handshake, the value of looking someone in the eye when speaking, and the art of making quick connections by learning and repeating people's names, and to never, ever be afraid to talk to strangers. I have seen Lloyd Kellner absolutely light up in conversation with everyone, from a former Phillies player to a restaurant server, from all the amazing friends my brothers and I introduced him to over the years who he loved so much, to an entrepreneur scalping tickets, Eagles tickets outside the stadium. He treated everyone with so much love. My confidence comes from my dad telling me I could do anything I put my heart into. He didn't fully understand my industry, but that never stopped him from showing up and supporting me every step of the way. One of my all-time favorite experiences with him was after he retired, when I would return to town each year for the Philadelphia Auto Show. He was so excited to have the hookup at this beloved yearly event that he would take the train into the city alone, sometimes 2 or 3 days in a row, just to spend the entire day with me at the auto show while I worked. He would hang out at the front desk and chat with the customers. And my coworkers were enamored with his gregarious energy. To have my dad show up at my adult career events with as much enthusiasm as he did for my high school plays brings me so much gratitude and joy. We often talked about how our father-daughter bond was unique and unbreakable. Lloyd wanted his children to love all the things he loved, and he instilled in us a deep sense of belonging to the city of Philadelphia. Growing up in the 90s, the Eagles were always the underdog, and Dad never missed an opportunity to teach us that life isn't just about winning the game. Win or lose, we were always supporting our players. They were our guys. Philly was our city, and we all bleed green. And one of the greatest joys in my life was in 2018, crammed into David's small Fishtown apartment, watching the Eagles beat the Patriots with my parents and brothers. After the game, Dad handed us cowbells to take with us as we celebrated on Broad Street. Most people would be confused as to why he even owned a couple of cowbells. But as Mom would say, it's a Kellner thing, you wouldn't understand. I'm so thankful we got to experience that milestone with Dad before he was diagnosed with Alzheimer's. To say the last 6 years were challenging would be an understatement. My mom was the most devoted caregiver, going above and beyond to make the end of my dad's life as comfortable as possible, despite the devastating effects of the disease. His Alzheimer's was very different from the way it had affected both of his parents, and we all expected him to bounce back over these last 5 weeks. He had always been so resilient, beating 2 types of cancer, suffering a heart attack the night before my college graduation, which he didn't even get checked out until my graduation festivities were over on Monday, and then pushing through multiple torn ligaments and various other ailments. So at only 73 years old, with a childlike spirit, we really didn't think 2025 would be his year. My family and I feel a deep and uncomfortable sense of being robbed of more time with him. The failures of the American healthcare system robbed us of the emergency support we needed for him to recover. My mother has endured countless egregious medical errors over the last 6 years. So with profound appreciation for her unwavering dedication to Lloyd's health and well-being, I'd like everyone here right now to give her a hearty round of applause. I know tradition dictates that eulogies be filled with only sunshine and positivity, but I am not comfortable lying about this cruel disease and the lack of meaningful support available through our healthcare system. In honor of Lloyd's legacy, I encourage everyone to fiercely advocate for themselves and their loved ones when it comes to essential health care. Beyond his love for Philadelphia, Dad's greatest priority was passing down his deep love for Judaism. He was an active member of the South Jersey Men's Club and a regular presence at our synagogue on Shabbat. He was so proud of all of our bar and bat mitzvahs and Hebrew high school confirmations, and he truly relished the Jewish traditions and holidays we hosted in our home. My parents welcomed Jewish refugees, volunteered in the community, and always had their doors open for neighborhood kids who needed a warm meal. Lloyd's aunt was a Holocaust survivor, so it was crucial to him that his children not only took pride in our Jewish heritage, but understood the historical resilience of our people. And towards the end of his life, when conversations no longer made sense, I could always count on him to chime in when I started singing the Aleinu. One of his favorite phrases was L'dor vador, from generation to generation. As we grieve this profound loss and celebrate the vibrant life of this Philadelphia mensch, I vow to carry on his legacy, to not just be kind, but to be friendly to strangers, to be a true team player, to always put family first, and to take great pride in our heritage. So never forget, legends never die.
So Michael.
Thank you all for being here. It means a great deal to us that you're here. I want to start by saying how incredibly grateful I am for having the father that I did. Lloyd wasn't just a father, he was a guide. He was a coach and a friend who shaped my life in countless ways, leaving a legacy that will live on in the memories we shared and the values he instilled in me. It kind of started with like a blue stress ball, and he called me Buddy Blue. And that made me a lifelong lover of the color blue. Anything blue, it's for me. I'm all over it. Just like my dad's love for the little things in life. That became part of who he was. My dad believed in always being early, because if you're not early, you're late. You have all this time to be early and 1 little minute to be on time. How hard is it to be early? For those of you married, ask your wives. His love for music and comedy always shined. I don't know anyone who laughed as hard. But Dad wasn't just a father to me. He was my coach in everything. He was there for every baseball, every football game, literally not missing one. He even came to our state championship swim team. How I got on that swim team? Story for another day. But when it came to business, he coached with his simple but powerful wisdom. He'd say, in real estate, you make your money when you buy, not when you sell. And no one gets paid. I mean, nobody gets paid unless something gets sold. And if you're telling, you're selling, but if you're listening, they're buying. These were words I'd hear from him often and carried with me. He knew it wasn't a good idea, but my mom listened to her 17-year-old son who thought all the Mustang needed was a new paint job. He advised against it as he knew it would end up being his project more than mine, and it would be. And we would go to car show after car show after car show, and we even won an award. I'm sure it had nothing to do with my dad chumming up the judge. It was surely a coincidence. Dad and I shared countless moments of joy and connection, like the time he took me to the All-Star Fan Fest in '96 and made sure I got Steve Carlton's autograph. I mean, he took the ball out of my hand and shoved it right in his face in front of all these kids to make sure of it, and I got that autograph all right. You know, that was my dad. He always found a way to make things happen. He loved the Phillies and the Eagles so much that we learned to never interrupt the post-game show. Seriously, like we would just leave the room. It was, let him get it. I remember him saying, as my brother and sister mentioned, he hoped the Eagles would win a Super Bowl in his lifetime. Well, Dad, they won 2 in 7 years. So talk about going out on top. I mean, what a way. When I think about the memories we made, the family trips to the beach, to Disney World, to Mexico, to Frontier Town, especially Frontier Town, I was a big fan. I'm reminded that for Dad, family came first. He didn't need a big social circle. His family was everything to him. He made sure we had a childhood full of adventure, love, and laughter. And in the end, Dad showed me that success isn't just about money or achievements. It's about having control over your time and doing what really matters to you. Showing up to the car show every day she's there. Showing up whenever you could for what mattered to you, the people you love. And by that definition, my dad was the most successful person I've ever known. I mean, he beat cancer Twice. Twice. But in the end, it's Alzheimer's that took him from us. But we know that nothing, not even that, could erase the love, the memories, and the impact that Dad had on all of us. He fought bravely, but more importantly, he lived fully. And Dad, you might be gone, but your legacy of love and dedication, wisdom and laughter will live on in all of us. We love you and will carry you with us always. Rest easy, Dad.
In the Jewish tradition, our first and best teachers of Torah are our parents. And we have just heard three powerful statements from Lloyd's best disciples and learned a lot of good Torah, a lot of good wisdom. The Yiddish poet Blaga Dimitrova wrote this poem in memory of her father. To my father, you gathered incredible strength in order to die, to seem calm and fully conscious, without complaint, without trembling, without a cry, so that I would not be afraid. Your weary hands slowly grew cold in mine and guided me carefully beyond into the house of death, so that I might come to know it. Thus in the past you used to take my hand and guide me through the world and show me life, so I would not be afraid. I will follow after you, confident as a child, toward the silent country where you went first, so I would not feel a stranger there, and I will not be afraid. In the book of Psalms, we celebrate people who are blessed with goodness and with wisdom. The 15th Psalm, Mizmor leDavid Adonai mia gurba ohalecha mi yishkan behar kodshecha. A Psalm of David. Do we deserve to enter God's sanctuary? Can we merit a place in the presence of God? Live with integrity, do what is right, speak the truth without deceit. Have no slander upon your tongue. Do no evil to others. Do not mistreat your neighbor. Spurn a contemptible person, but honor those who revere the Blessed One. Never retract a promise once made, though it may bring you harm. Lend no money at unfair rates. Accept no bribe against the innocent. Make these deeds your own, and you shall stand firm forever. Psalm 1. Happy is the one who does not walk in the counsel of the wicked, nor stands in the way of sinners, nor sits in the seat of scorners, but whose delight is the Eternal's Torah, and meditates on God's Torah day and night. This one shall be like a tree planted by the rivers of water, that brings forth its fruit in due season. Its leaf shall not wither, and whatever this one does shall prosper. It is not so with the wicked. They are like the chaff which the wind drives away. Therefore the wicked will not stand in judgment, nor sinners in the congregation of the righteous. But the Eternal knows the way of the righteous. The way of the wicked shall perish. And we know the way of the righteous. We just got 3 good lessons. Thank you. So, coming close to the end of this part of the day, Passover's coming up. And I just received this poem from Ritual Well in the morning as an introduction to Passover. It's by a woman, Ellen Bloom Barish, and it's called The Retelling. That's Haggadah. So she wrote, "At my Seder table, I learned that some stories need to be told more than once, to make us stop, gather together, and tell it aloud, though we have heard it many times before, so we remember. Every spring, we read the same story of our exodus from Egypt, but it is never the same twice. Every spring, someone is missing for work, move, illness, or death. Every spring, there's a new mood or geopolitical incident. The annual retelling is like the sharing of all hard stories, never told the same way twice, never heard the same way twice. It's crossing over a desert of shifting sand that allows us to see something that we hadn't before, as if for the first time. Each moment is going to be different. Each memory will be different. As you think about your father, your father-in-law, your husband, as you think about Lloyd, in the next few days, months, years, different things will come back into mind. Hopefully his story has enriched you, and through your retelling of his story has enriched us, so that we can find ways to make each day special, that we can touch each other with kindness. We can recognize the problems that are inherent in our society and do a little bit to make them a little better, to follow his Torah every day. So now we have a few prayers to cement our learning. The first is a prayer, El Malei Rachamim, asking the one that is full of compassion to enable us to accept Lloyd's spirit in its totality. And then we will recite the 23rd Psalm, the Psalm of Comfort, before we leave this room and move on for the interment. So it is customary for people to sit up straight or stand up straight, whatever is comfortable and safe, as we recite these words, ancient words. El Malei Rachamim, Shochein Bamromim, Hametzeh Menucha Nachona Tacha Kanfei Shechina, B'Ma'alo Kodeshim Toharim, Kizor Harakia Mazhirim, Et Nishmat, Lloyd Alexander Kellner, Yoel Ben Shmuel Yaakov V'Perel, Shahalach La'olamo, Began Eden Tiyeh Menuchato, Ana Bal Harachamim, Hasterechu Besete Kenafecha Leolamim, Utzror B'Tzror Achaim It Nishmato, Adonai Hu Nachlato, V'Tanuach B'Shalom Al Nishkavo, V'Nomar Amen. May the source of life and the fountain of all being open our hearts to compassion and our eyes to wisdom, that we may glimpse in perfect peace and sadness the way of all things. May Lloyd's memory be for us a blessing. And may we never let the light of Lloyd's love grow dim in our hearts. May we remember all his worthy and righteous deeds. I'd like to ask his smile and his joy and his enthusiasm and his support and his love, so that his memory be bound forever in the bond of life. God is our source and God is our destination. God is our beginning and end. May Lloyd's death awaken us to this truth that the bond of love that the bond of love we shared and share be not shattered in sorrow. And may he have a place of rest in our hearts forever. And to this we say, Amen. So the 23rd Psalm. Adonai roi lo exar, bino desha yar bitseni, al me menuchot yinachaleni. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside still waters. He restoreth my soul. He leadeth me in paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou anointest my head with oil, my cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Ach tov v'chesed yirdafuni kol yemei chayai, v'shavti beveit Adonai li'orech yamim.